I think this is an interesting comment coming out of Tehran over the last sort of 12 hours or so. When the Iranians say a new weapon that nobody's seen before, people immediately think it's nuclear. And certainly in my area of expertise, nuclear, biological or chemical, one sort of, get the inference that that's what they're looking at. So if we just unpack it a little bit, on the nuclear side, I think it is pretty certain that at the moment, the Iranians don't have a viable nuclear device. We know they've been trying to enrich uranium. We think they're about 80% at the moment, and you need 90% plus to make a viable nuclear weapon. So we know that they have missiles that are capable of delivering a warhead, a nuclear warhead. And, potentially they could put a sort of less effective nuclear warhead with only 80% enriched uranium, which would create some sort of effect. Not a nuclear explosion, but perhaps like a dirty bomb. However, what has been demonstrated in the last few days is that Iran is unable to deliver a missile or a drone to Israel. They cannot guarantee it. They tried on Sunday, and 99.9% of them being knocked down. So if you put that together, I sort of go away from the nuclear bit. It doesn't seem possible. Slightly allied to that, I've mentioned radiation. Dirty bomb is something that is bandied around and has similar terror effects. We know that Iran has fissile material. So if they could get this material to Tel Aviv or Jerusalem, they could create a dirty bomb. However, I would think that that was pretty difficult. One thing about nuclear material is it's relatively easy to detect if you're getting to it. We look at the other potentials, chemical weapons. Well, we haven't seen the Iranians use chemical weapons for a long time. In the Iran-Iraq War, 1984 to 88, Iran used a lot of chemical weapons, as did Iraq, and hundreds of thousands of people were killed. It's a sort of war that was not covered by the West, and a lot of people don't know about it, but hugely significant. One assumes that Iran still has chemical weapons. So the potential for them to use chemical weapons, the fact that we're seeing Russia using chemical weapons in the form of CS gas in Ukraine at the moment, and being very effective with it, leads that potential. But how would they deliver it? And the missile and drone delivery system, which you would expect, seems unlikely. The other delivery mechanism that the Iranians have is fighter jets, and it's highly unlikely the Iranian fighter jet would get close enough to Israel to be able to do that. I suppose the third horror weapon is a biological weapon. Little is known about Iranians' biological weapon capability. However, one assumes that they probably do have a program, because the potential, the terror potential is huge, and that is what the Iranian state is all about. Whether they could deliver some biological weapon to Israel again seems unlikely. So I think in sum, what I take from this is further bluster from Iran. They're obviously desperately concerned that the Israelis are going to hit them back hard after the assault on Sunday. And, I don't think they've got an awful lot to fire back. What it does emphasize is it's absolutely critical that Iran does not get a nuclear device, a nuclear viable device. And the International Atomic Energy Agency today have said they're going to start inspections of the Iranian sites again, and that is a good thing. So, yeah, I know people will be concerned about this, but I think on balance, it is unlikely that Iran has some new wonderful weapon that nobody knows about that could really have an impact against Israel or the West. The Ayatollahs and the Iranian government, are not popular. They're in a challenging position at the moment. They've sort of, half-heartedly attacked Israel. Possibly one or two missiles got through, did very little damage, and injured one child. They've lauded this to their people as a great success. Now, if Israel decides to retaliate, which they could do, and it's clear that the Iranian air defense system is nowhere as capable of what Israel and her allies put together, actually Iran could take a heck of a thumping. And it might well be that the Israelis decide to take out their nuclear capability as well. So I think because the Israelis have said that they are going to retaliate, the Iranians, seem to be very much on the back foot, saying it's all over now, let's draw a line under it. They're now having to think again that might not be the case. The Israelis might not listen to the Americans and the Brits and others to say restraint. And if the Israelis do attack, that could be hugely significant. So I think this is a cry from Tehran, probably not for the Israelis, but for everybody else, to say we've got this terrible weapon that we're going to unleash, in the hope that British and American governments and others again say to the Israelis, hang on here, we don't want to risk a biological, chemical, or nuclear attack. But actually, I can't see that the Iranians have a viable chemical, biological, or nuclear weapon with which to attack Israel with. The drones and everything else took hours to get there, and the fact that they were so easily shot down is incredible. They're probably suggesting they have some sort of hypersonic missile, like the Russian Satan II missiles, but actually, they are being knocked out of the sky pretty readily in Ukraine. So they travel very, very quickly. So that might be what they're alluding to. But I think their chance of success is no better than some of their slow-moving drones. So again, I think this is part of the stance by Tehran to try and get the international community to persuade Israel to do nothing and draw a line under it. So, yeah, I know people are concerned about it, but I think this is where we need to hold our nerve. Iran is a tyrannical state. It backs terrorists like Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis, and the sooner they're back in their box, the better for everybody and for global peace.